as we bring you our latest documentary, Is Jihad Dying in Kashmir?, where I travel to Kashmir and speak to experts from the Jammu and Kashmir Police, Indian Army, and experts who have studied radicalization patterns in the Kashmir Valley. Is jihad dying in Kashmir after 30 long years of bloodshed and terrorism? Keep watching. The jihad machine brainwashed Kashmiri youth.
We saw it going so bad.
We were not prepared for it.
Phases of turbulence.
जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के पीएको को आप भारत का हिस्सा नहीं मानते हो क्या? एग्रेसिव ना हो, जान दे देंगे इसके लिए।
Today we have a good control.
There is a feeling of normalcy that is setting in.
Kashmir, marred by conflict and violence. For decades, the shadow of Pakistan-sponsored terror had eclipsed the Muslim-majority region. Local youth were radicalized in the late 1980s by Pakistan's spy agency, Inter-Services Intelligence. High on the idea of jihad, a religious war in the name of Islam that terrorized the Indian state. Many of them crossed the border to be trained by the jihadis. 4 years since the abrogation of Article 370, a semblance of calm has returned to the valley. Infiltration of terrorists from Pakistan is at an all-time low. Peace no longer seems to be a distant dream.
I nostalgically remember Kashmir since the first time I went there in 1980 December. We could move from our transit camps, board a public transport bus, go to Lal Chowk, come back, go to a movie hall, and that was the time when we were waiting for the next move. So our transit camps were the place where we halted. And then we saw it going so bad.
Since partition, Pakistan has been charged with supporting anti-India demonstrations in Jammu and Kashmir through local agents in an effort to sow seeds of unrest and instability in the region. In the 1980s, Pakistan Army and the ISI took advantage of the temporary special status to Jammu and Kashmir to spark sentiments. They used mosques and madrasas to perpetuate a radical Islamist ideology and anti-India rhetoric. The jihad machine brainwashed Kashmiri youth. They recruited them as overground workers to support Islamist terror groups who attacked Indian security forces. Street protests, stone pelting, and violence surged.
As far as mental part is concerned, jihad is very strongly entrenched. The institutions, peddling that jihad narrative, particularly the mosques and the radical leaders, they are pretty much alive. But yes, terrorism is certainly on the decline.
I think there's a far greater understanding of hybrid war. What have started in the 80s and the 90s, continued through the 90s, was all hybrid war. We were not prepared for it. We responded more militarily, more kinetically, and things like that. Today, the government of India is undertaking what is called an all-of-government approach all over Jammu and Kashmir. It's not easy.
The spurt in the anti-minority sentiments triggered the largest exodus of Kashmiri Pandits in 1990. Massacres, rape, and other violent acts against the minority made them flee the valley.
Post 1989 and the Kashmiri Pandits being tortured and pushed out of their homeland. And thereafter, the stone pelting combined with infiltration and the violence levels which ISI was orchestrating from across, and the added element of Jamaatis and the Hurriyat, all that got complicated somewhere between 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10.
The valley had been bloodied and battered for over 3 decades. Life came to a standstill every time Hurriyat Conference called for a shutdown. Civil liberties were throttled and the people were held hostage by Islamist extremists, while the regional political parties remain mute spectators, often being supportive of alienating Kashmiris from mainland India. They came to be known as the Gupkar Gang. All this changed with a historic move by the Government of India on 5th August 2019.
जम्मू एंड कश्मीर के पीएको को आप भारत का हिस्सा नहीं मानते हो क्या? एग्रेसिव ना हो, जान दे देंगे इसके लिए। क्या बात कर रहे हो आप? एग्रेसिव होने की क्या बात कर रहे हो?
The government abrogated Article 370 and passed the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act. The special status of Jammu and Kashmir was removed. The state was bifurcated into two union territories, namely Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, in a major move towards restoring normalcy. Since then, the security situation has improved dramatically. Incidents of terror have reported a declining trend and the number of fatalities have also reduced.
There are no violent protests with stone pelting in the cities and streets that you used to see earlier. There's no violence on the streets by and large. Even the encounters with terrorists or recruitment into terrorism, into terrorist groups has come down drastically. None of it is zero, but everything has come down drastically.
Kashmir has had has had phases of turbulence, and the most recent one being its most violent and the longest phase is seeing diminishing attrition.
We are also seeing new trends like hybrid terrorists. The idea is to gain international attention and soft targets like targeted killings of migrant labor. This is all they can do. Earlier they used to be attacking security forces and things like that. So these are the trends we are seeing more as a compulsion to do something. There is a feeling of normalcy that is setting in. The terrorist groups, their handlers across, and they have to prove it to each other that they have to try and banish this feeling of feel-good feeling.
We have been very effectively been able to control Kashmir, the Kashmir part north of Pir Panjal. The Jammu side, the south of the Pir Panjal, is emerging as the more worrisome area now. And this is the area which by 2008, 9, 10, terrorism had vanished from here. And the Jammu and Kashmir police had actually declared this is a terrorist-free area. This is an area where there is, well, Poonch has got 90% Muslim population perhaps. But as you come south, you find a balance of population. Targeting of minorities, Hindu families, etc. has taken place in Rajouri, as you're aware. And this is an area where Pir Panjal itself offers tremendous hideouts. Rocky outcrops, jungle terrain, the area between Rajouri and Poonch in particular, the higher tracks.
See, there is no doubt the situation in Jammu and Kashmir has improved considerably. Radicalization is down, terrorism is down.
Terrorism is certainly on the decline because India has taken some of the very strong kinetic measures.
The Rashtra Rifles came up only in the early and mid-90s. We did not have a doctrine by which we would look at this whole concept of balancing out hard and soft power of the army. All that is in place today. So it's not easy to increase terrorist strength. It's not easy to do recruitment because our intelligence agencies are doing an excellent job on that. So I think by and large today we have a good control.
At the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Foreign Ministers gathering in Goa, when the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, said meaningful discussions between India and Pakistan cannot happen until Article 370 is restored. The day Bhutto was in Goa, 5 Indian personnel were killed in an encounter with terrorists in Poonch. This was days after 5 Indian army soldiers were killed in a terror attack in the same Jammu region. A Pakistan-based outfit, Jaish-e-Mohammed's splinter group, claimed responsibility for both these terror attacks. India's Minister for External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, slammed Bhutto over his remark.
Victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism. Victims of terrorism defend themselves, counter acts of terrorism, they call it out, they delegitimize it, and that is exactly what is happening. So to come here and preach these hypocritical words as though we are on the same boat, I mean, they are committing acts of terrorism.